Welcome to the Barker Podcast Collection.
I suck, you suck, I suck at Call of Duty. You suck. You suck. You suck.
Welcome to the Not Playing Podcast. My name's Rob Howard, and this week I'm joined by
Ian Bruce and Patrick Kane.
You can contact us on email at notplayingpodcast@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter at notplayingpod. It's basically that time of the year where we have to come up with our mandatory
Arbitrary
top 5 games of the year, although with the big disclaimer that we are not in the position where we can play everything, nor do I think we especially want to. So with that in mind, and with some big caveats, I suppose we better get on with the show. So, Pat, why don't you kick us off then with what was your number 5 game of 2015?
Okay. Well, I haven't really thought of a particular order of them, but I'd say probably it'd probably be Rocket League.
Good shout.
Rocket League is like a very different game to the game I normally sort of look out for. It's not the kind of game I normally kind of seek out and get excited about. But I immediately kind of recognized something about seeing trailers that made it just look like pure fun. And that's exactly what the game is. It's pure fun. It's football, but played with cars. You're crashing around into other players and into a giant ball in a kind of mock caged stadium, which you can sort of drive up the walls of and stuff. And it's a bit like kind of getting the kind of football elements of something like, I don't know, Sensible Soccer, like a game that was already appealing to sort of non-football fans back in the 90s, and kind of like matching that up with like, I don't know, kind of like the more kind of abstract, arcadey, cartoony driving games, things like Blur and Need for Speed and stuff like that. It's got that kind of boosty, unrealistic but super exciting driving element to it as well. But it is essentially football played with cars, and yeah, it's just pure fun. It's like very quick. It's just straight in, have fun for 3 minutes and drop it. And it's, you know, and that's like very different to a lot of the games that I normally pursue. But it was absolutely like some of the most fun I've had with the game this year, like beyond any doubt whatsoever.
Yeah, it did really well by being packaged with PlayStation Plus. I think it got a lot of buzz off that early. It was actually a sequel to a game that the same company made before called Supersonic Acrobatic Rocket Powered Battle Cars. Unsurprisingly, that didn't do quite as well, but I think they managed to perfect the formula with this one.
Well, I actually got mine bundled with the Steam controller, so they probably got a lot of players that way as well, and which is really cool for like an online game. But yeah, it's just really good fun. That's all you really need to know about that game. It's good, quick, no-brainer. Colourful fun.
Yeah, I've only tried to play it. I only played it a little bit briefly when I came round to yours that time, but I totally understand the appeal. You've played it quite a bit, haven't you, Ian?
Oh yes.
Yeah, we played it together.
It's a regular go-to for myself and young Radchek, friend of the show, or our listener, as I call him. It's everything Pat said. The only thing I would add to it is, it's easy to learn, difficult to master, and if you're not playing as a team, you might as well not be playing. There's a number of different game modes. There's 2v2, 3v3, 4v4, and a custom mode like Unreal Tournament had. And all of those game modes are excellent. The custom game modes are quite surreal, zero gravity, different ball sizes. That over the Christmas period they've had playing with an ice puck.
I heard they've heard they'd added hockey or something.
Yeah, and
to it.
that's the only mutators like from Unreal Tourney. That's the only one that's been available for the last few weeks, and it's that could be a game on its own. I would pay full money for that game just with the ice puck. But it's. I'm not a sports fan. I'm not a driving fan, really, and I'm not really a big fan of drop in and out stuff. I prefer to spend hours doing something. But this, as Pat said, you play it for like 5-7 minutes, and that's a game done. And because it is 5 or 7 minutes, it's extremely easy to go. Oh, just one more. Just one more.
Yeah.
Before you know
absolutely.
it, you've had 3 hours playing something that you just wanted to do as a filler.
And your car has a Mohican now.
Yes, because there is some DLC and stuff, but it's all cosmetic shit. Having different, you changed your boost color, the shape of your car. You can get the DeLorean from Back to the Future as a DLC car for like £1.50 during the Steam sale.
I think when you have a formula that's like that, like successful, you don't really need to add more kind of noise to the gameplay mechanics. Things like just aesthetic changes are enough as progression. And it's kind of like a FIFA game or something like that. You wouldn't suddenly change the gameplay mechanics of football to progress in the game. It would be ridiculous to do that.
Yeah.
When Radders and I started playing it, it was very easy to be shit at it, but the learning curve is it's like a curb or a pavement step. It's extremely small. Once you know how to do a few basic manoeuvres, you can play as well as anybody else. And because the size of the pitch is small and you can go from one end to the other extremely quickly, it's not like kids playing football at school in the playground where everybody's just rushing after the ball all the time. One of you can get back, and there are some tactics there which I was quite surprised about. And if pick-up groups are good, Redchick and I play in a group of 2, and we'll have other people that join us. I've made a number of Steam friends through it because people just want to play the game, and they're good fun. They're not fucking about. It's surprisingly enjoyable, and I'm not. I think I'd read they'd made 50 million out of it already or something, and it cost 2 million to make. So, yeah, doesn't need to have cutting edge graphics, although it's extremely pretty. And a massive story and voice acting and all the rest of it. Soundtrack's excellent as well, if you like a bit of unts with your gameplay. I can find no fault with it, except I don't have more hours in the day to play it as much as I would like to.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Cool. Well, I'm going to try and get round to it, but my number 5 would be, and it's a recent entry, and I've been deliberating over a couple of games that I've been playing over Christmas, because with Fallout 4 out of the way, I was able to sort of give some attention to like a bunch of like smaller indie games that I've been playing, and I don't know if you'd call it an indie game. It certainly doesn't look like one by any conventional standard, but anyway, my number 5 would be Ori and the Blind Forest, which is an amazingly beautiful game, and I was quite struck by it. I messaged you, I think, Pat, like within about 10 seconds. I was just like, oh my god, this is amazing.
It's pretty instantly, like very quickly lets you know exactly what it is, doesn't it, that game?
Yeah. So yeah, I was very taken with the overall aesthetic of it. It's basically it's a sort of 2D Metroidvania, and really is properly Metroidvania in that the map is enormous. Like, I mean, the current mission where I have to go at the moment, it's like I haven't even revealed any of that part of the map, but it's just over there somewhere, and there's a whole lot of stuff I'm going to have to get to get there, get through to get there. But yeah, I love the visuals. The music's amazing. It's incredibly like emo, and the animation is excellent. But it also really holds up gameplay wise, and I've played a couple of 2D games in the past year or so, but this one's just so accomplished in the platforming, like the way that it hands out extra abilities. There's a really cool mechanic which involves you kind of locking onto projectiles or enemies and then flinging yourself off in a certain direction, and if you can chain that together with the double jump, you end up with an almost like Sonic the Hedgehog level of locomotion. It's really quite awesome. But oh my god, though, there are some really challenging sequences in it, which involve like water rising. So you have to, it basically goes, right, this is a tool, and now you're going to have to learn this, but like really fucking learn it, because if you can't basically pull this off, then there's no point you carrying on. So it's just super challenging. But it must have taken me about 50 times to do this one bit. It was New Year's Eve actually, and I was like, "Fuck, I really want to do this, but I've got to go out." And I just did it like in the nick of time, and it was just so gratifying. It was one of the best gaming experiences I've had all year. So yeah, I had to mention that.
Yeah, actually, Ori and the Blind Forest is on my top 5 as well. Like I said, I don't really have an order for mine because they're all kind of all my favourite games, but for very different reasons. But
Okay.
yeah, Ori and the Blind Forest is definitely one of my favourite games of the year. And the reason I think the reason it kind of stood out for me is that there's all these like amazing kind of production value things. There's all this kind of amazing art in it. The colour scheme, the color themes, and the actual art itself, like incredibly well done. It was all incredibly consistent, very well drawn out. The level editing was just like so well put together. But I think the thing that was actually amazing about the game was that part of the way that it was developed is that they said before they did any of the graphics, they wanted to make sure that the game worked and was fun already.
Yeah.
And you can absolutely feel that the whole way
you
through.
could totally
like,
tell.
The controls are just so dialed in, and really what the game essentially is basically Metrovania. Like it's basically that old, tried and tested mechanic that we've seen in a bunch of games. It doesn't do anything new, this game, at all, really.
No.
What it does is takes a very tried and tested formula and kind of just refines it until it's as perfect as it can be in that environment, and then it just builds a world around it. It builds the kind of the color and the music and the sound and everything else around it. But the actual DNA of the game felt just so kind of responsive, and the whole thing just felt so well thought about. Like it was nothing felt like, oh, this bit shouldn't be here, or you didn't put quite as much effort in here. It was the consistency of that game, I think, that really stood out the most. But yeah, like it was just, as well as I think the fact that it managed to use very simple tricks to be like very emotionally engaging as well. Just the right amount just the right amount to kind of make you carry on with it, make you want to know what the secret is. The story wasn't a huge part of Ori and the Blind Forest. It was the MacGuffin. Like these few kind of scenes that make you want to know what's happening, they were the MacGuffin. Ori and the Blind Forest was a very well-made platformer. That's what I took from it.
I've never felt like, whenever I've fucked up in it, I've never felt like it was the game that was against me. I've always felt like it was my fault, because it gives you so many opportunities. And like I've come across certain platforming situations where you're not even, it's like I'm doing it more difficult than there's an easier solution there, but I'm doing it the more difficult way. It sort of plays with you like that, and it's so responsive. And I also just love that there's clearly always one direction in which to progress, but there's so many other little kind of nooks and crannies that you can get into. So it's never completely obvious, which way forward.
That's part of the whole Metroidvania thing, though, isn't it? It's like this. I totally can't get to that ledge, but why can't I get to the ledge? And then half an hour later, you unlock the ability that lets you get up that ledge, and then then it's suddenly the model just makes sense. You've got it's like a joke. You someone's feeding all this information. You're like, why are you telling me this? I don't understand what this is. And then they tell you the punchline, and it all makes sense. The punchline is the ability, and the joke is the level design. And that's, I think that's like one of the least original things in it, but it is totally like the DNA of what made the game, if that makes sense. It's that tried and tested 90s mechanic of get the ability, use the new ability to get to the new place. It always works. It's just always a good thing to put in a game. And I think they just built one of the, if not possibly the best version of that type of game, just by focusing on it in the right ways, I think.
Yeah. Cool. Have you got anything for us then, Ian? Have you got one you want to put in the number 5 slot?
That's a good question, Rob. let me just review my extensive list. Could be that. As Matt isn't here, I'm going to put Ark in at number 5.
Oh, okay.
If you've not heard one of the excellent recent shows we did with Matt, I haven't had the balls to listen to any of them yet, except for the outtakes at the end, because I'm aware that there was some heated exchanges.
Yeah.
Ark was the little game that came out of nowhere and did amazingly well. It also seems to be the most patched game on Steam ever, with patches coming every couple of days, which is a little annoying if you've got it installed but you're not playing it.
Also the 3rd highest selling game of the year, apparently, on Steam.
Yep. It's the dinosaur.survive game. If you've not seen it, go and check the videos. We've discussed it at length here previously. I'm happy to have played as much of it as I had. I'm probably not going to go back to it for a while until it's cheaper and more of my play group. That's not the right word.
I very nearly bought it the other day, but I don't know. I just didn't think I'd have time for it in the next month.
It does work. The single player game, all of the graphic shit that happened that were a problem when it launched, where you get like 3 FPS unless you turned everything down, that's all gone, and it runs beautifully on my machine. The single player game is good, so if you didn't want to risk a public server and all of your hard worked creations being nuked by a bunch of angry idiots from somewhere, the single player game looks great. It would take longer. I think you can create private games and stuff, so it may be worth getting. But if you've got the forest, it doesn't have dinosaurs, but it's basically it is another .survive, another tree basher. So
the forest isn't like persistent and massively multiplayer, though, is it?
There's co-op in there.
Right, but it's not that kind of persistent. Must keep checking in to make sure my base hasn't fallen down.
It's not
sort of.
Rust or Reign of Kings or any of the other tree bashers that came out last year or the year before, and they're all good. I think they're all excellent. I probably put them all as my number 5. I've got hours in all of them, but if you're not a fan of that genre, you're never going to like any of them.
No,
if you like
I think Ark is the
and
one.
want some eye candy, any of those would work.
Yeah.
And the communities are probably hit and miss, but once you found a good server, you'll probably stay on that server forever. So there we go.
Ark is definitely the one, I think, as far as that genre goes this year. Certainly seems to have had the most hype. I'm going to go put in my number 4 here while we're on the subject of punching trees and stuff. Fallout 4 is my number 4 game. Ironically enough. I finished it over Christmas. I did about 80 hours in it in the end. Towards the end, I messed around with the sort of community settlement stuff a little, but only in service of finishing it, really. But yeah, I was a little disappointed with how the story went in the end, because there are several, I won't spoil anything, but there were several factions in the end, and I think they tried to kind of ape what they did with Fallout New Vegas, but it just wasn't anywhere near as satisfying. But it still deserves a place in my top 5 simply because I spent so much time with it and I enjoyed most of my time with it. So yeah, it has to go in there somewhere, and there's a few games that I thought were better. So Fallout 4 is 4 for me.
Fair enough.
So my number 4 is probably Project Cars.
Cool.
Which so I guess Rocket League is probably my favorite, really, because it's just instant fun. It's like instant gratification, and it's proper like laugh out loud fun, isn't it? And you're likely to laugh playing that game. It's that kind of fun, isn't it? It's kind of silly.
I think from the one time I had a go on it, was it Project Cars I did at yours with the?
Oh, sorry, I'm talking about Rocket League.
Okay,
It's a game that kind of makes you laugh because it's that kind of fun. Yeah. Whereas Project Cars it's much more intense, and Project Cars is probably the game that gave me the most kind of adrenaline rush. as far as like what it is as an engine and as a game, it's like a very, very high end simulation. It's like a good model of like what VR could look like in general a few years down the line. It's a bit ahead of certain things because to just model a track and cars and weather, you can do that very, very well because you're focusing on a few things rather than in entire expansive worlds and blah blah blah. So it's a great looking game. It's a beautiful looking game. It looks as real. It looks more real than anything else I've seen, pretty much. No, actually, I think it looks more real than anything else I've played in VR. So it's all about the kind of intensity. I don't really play it very seriously because I'm not really like into racing or cars, but I'm into driving. I like the feeling of speed. I like the feeling of having other cars rush behind me as I overtake them and swerving and crashing and, you know, taking bends too fast and having that kind of nail-biting moment. But yeah, as far as an adrenaline experience goes, like Project Cars was more kind of amped up than anything I played. It was just pure white knuckle fucking ride. I guess like the one last year was probably Radial G, the kind of zero gravity one. Like Project Cars is probably my equivalent of that this year, and it was the reason to get the wheel out and do it properly and just like really get immersed and like make a real meal, make a real event of playing games, which is very, very different to Rocket League, where you just, I just fancy playing the game. This was like, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to have an experience, and, you know, at the end of that experience, you're exhausted because you've been driving for 3 hours at ridiculous speeds, trying not to crash and just concentrating. And that for me was why Project Cars is one of my top 5 this year.
Cool.
Okay.
What's next for you then, Ian?
What number are we at?
We're still at 4 for you.
Okay. Yeah, it's. Can I put a few here? Because there's.
Yeah.
Just say the first one.
Yeah, but my list is exhaustive. Is extensive.
No, go on. Share. I want to know.
Okay, so I would go with the games from the Avalanche released this year.
Okay.
All right. Being Mad Max and Just Cause 3. My notes say they are basically the same game, which is not fair to the teams involved in creating those games, but they are basically open world sandboxes. Mad Max is slightly more themed than Just Cause, and
True.
Just Cause is slightly more insane with the shit you can do. In fact, it's the most. It's just incredible the shit you can do in Just Cause. But they are beautifully delivered. The story is minimal, but I just want to play them for hours. And for both of them, I find myself just driving around in a car because I want to drive around this world. I'm not really doing anything. I'm just having a look. What's over there? Oh, it's another mountain. What's over there? It's another tree. And I don't care. It looks so beautiful. They feel like living, breathing worlds. Avalanche can do no wrong in my eyes. And we'll see what they can do with the next one.
Yeah, Mad Max didn't quite make mine, but make my top 5. Various reasons, but I still spent quite a lot of time with it. Just Cause 3, I would differentiate these between one I did play and one I didn't. So yep. Just Cause 3, I don't know if it was just the timing. It always seems to be the timing with this game, or I've got Just Cause 2, but I still haven't played it. It's always like it always just seems like an open world too far for me. Maybe it's because the open worlds I go for are more along the RPG line, and so I just feel too fat on that to just go out and kick it loose with these other ones. But I don't know. Whatever.
Well, I think the more kind of RPG ones, they have that kind of evolution model that things like Fallout have, don't they? Where you can choose a path, and if you choose a certain path, that's going to unlock certain experiences in those open worlds. Whereas Just Cause, I haven't played the third one, and I think I would definitely choose that over Mad Max, mainly just for kind of environmental reasons. But I've played the first two before. By environmental reasons, I mean it's a world that I'd rather be in than a kind of desert.
The
one.
desert, dusty desert full of
but I played
psychopaths.
the first ones before, and they're very much like you can access any kind of fun all the time in those games. There's nothing like there's nothing obscured from your experience in those games. You can do some of the coolest things in the first hour.
Yeah.
But for some reason you never get bored of doing them.
You're like a kid in a sandpit with a load of toys. Oh, I'll just pop into the sandpit for an hour and do whatever the fuck I want.
Because there's always one more C4 to collect.
Yep.
To unlock. That means there's always one more thing to blow up as you fly away from a base.
Yes.
For example, like it amps up more and more, but the actual model of what's fun. It's not something that's kind of occluded and you unlock. It's there all throughout the game. It just gets bigger and bigger and sillier, I think. Yeah. And again, those games had an element of the kind of Rocket League thing where they're definitely laugh out loud fun. A lot at the time.
They are stupid games, the Just Cause ones. They are just. How is he doing this? How is he standing hanging underneath a plane at 2,000 feet in the air, going, yeah, whatever. I'm going to fire my gun now. I mean, it's just insane. The grapple hook stuff is hilarious. Both of those are other games where I wish I had more hours in the day. But I'll add them to the retirement pile should I ever retire.
Cool. All right. My number 3 is a multiplayer game. And it's one that I think has facilitated a certain group of friends getting together, and actually another whole entirely separate set of friends getting together on a regular basis to pound the shit out of some rat men. Warhammer Vermintide is my number 3 game of the year, and it pretty much did what we thought it would. It's Left 4 Dead, but also kind of incorporating the mechanics of like a D&D party, but in like a real-time hack and slash environment. We've lost many weeknights to it. That's my number 3. And I'm going to be playing it some more. They've recently updated it with a new shrine thing, which kind of and some trinkets that help you get the loot that you want. Although it's still not perfect. But yeah, I've been having a few games of that over Christmas, and looking forward to whatever else they bring out in the new year for it. So that's that.
It is a good fun game, definitely.
It is, yeah. Right, so I don't know. We're kind of at 2 or 3 for Pat because he's included Ori, but I don't know. What else have you got, Pat?
So I guess 2 is the very last game I played actually, which was Land's End on the Gear VR, and this would be on my top 5, or this is one of my favourite games of the year because it is my favourite mobile game. It's the best mobile game I played.
I think I know this one actually. I've heard of it.
Yeah, this is quite well known. It was made by the team who made
Monument Valley.
Monument Valley. That's right.
That's right.
Pat, your mic's covered.
Oh, sorry. So this is my favourite game because it was the best mobile game I played. It was also a VR game, and it was unique in this list because it was very much. You could see it was just an experiential game, and it was a really well done one at that. It was kind of like a model of like how a short playtime mobile VR game could be for a very wide audience. So the game in itself, the aesthetic is very simple. It's very low poly, very low resolution textures, kind of like speckles and things. Nothing really very detailed. The overall kind of environment is generally like the sea, and you're on these islands, kind of like the little island in the ocean in Star Wars. You know, those kind of pokey little cheeky ones, like if you were in the like coast of Scotland or something like that.
Yeah.
So you're sort of navigating through these, and there's these huge kind of like tribal pagan looking monuments everywhere. and they have these certain symbols on them. And there's a few ways that you can interact with the world in this game. There's patterns you can make. So the recurring puzzle that you have to keep doing throughout the game is it will start with a triangle. There'll be a triangle marked on, say, like a monolith, and then on another monolith there'll be a little circle, and then another monolith and another circle, and then maybe on some of the environment another little circle, and then a large circle at the end, and you have to join them all up together as if you're making like joining the dots, like it kind of looks like a star constellation. So as you look at one, it draws a white line behind them and makes this kind of weird star constellation. And they're very simple. They're not challenging at all, really. The game is not really about being challenging. It's about making you go on a journey and go on an experience. Monument Valley did that as well, but it also had, a more aggressive kind of puzzle element to it than this. This was never like, oh, how am I going to do this? That didn't exist. If you imagine like a kind of vibe of Myst, but without any of the frustration, that's sort of what it felt like. But those are some of the puzzles that are in the game. The other thing that you do in it is you have the Force. So these massive monoliths that are all over the place sometimes have to be rearranged so that you can connect these kind of star constellation puzzles. So you can bring things closer together so you can join them up, or you have to be rearranged to make a shape. So you have to make a giant person shape out of these blocks. But how you do that is the objects you can interact with in this way will have a certain marking on them, and when you focus on that marking on them, suddenly you're Luke Skywalker, and the rock will move wherever you put your head. So if you move your head around, it will just lift up into the sky, and it feels like you're connected to that object. They've done it really cleverly. So they've limited the speed of the movement of the object. So if you go like that, the object won't go like that. That would feel really unrealistic. It would feel like a game. It would feel like a Unity project. The illusion would break apart. They've done it so that wherever you move your head to, the object slowly moves to that place. So the object always moves slowly. If you move too fast, it will drop and you have to pick it up again.
Right.
And what that does makes it feel like you're actually lifting objects up with your head and using magic to move them around the world. That's something that an iPhone game can't do. You can't feel like your finger's doing magic. Your finger touches an iPhone all the time. It's one of the most natural things that modern humans do. This is something new. You are looking out at the world, and the world is moving because of something you're doing with your body, something very natural you're doing with your body, and it feels like magic. And that is kind of the core of the game. The game feels like a magical journey. It's very beautiful. The audio design and stuff is perfect for the environment. It's very subtle and just complements it. And the game at many points distracted me by the environment. I'd catch myself just turning around on a cliff and staring at something because it was distracting or beautiful. The colours were really kind of emotive. There was sections where I was moving through a cave and it was like very blue, but there'd be like these areas of red, and you really just felt every part of the environment, even though it's really low poly. Like this is like almost unquestionably undetailed environments. Like there's nothing, there's no detail there that didn't have to be there. And the whole game was just, it had elements of Myst, like I said, but more than that, it felt like playing another game like Journey. It felt like, wow, you have to experience this thing. I can't really explain it to you because I can't say it's like well,
you've done a pretty good job so far.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? It's one of those things you need to just experience it to understand it. Really, it's because it's just a unique journey, a unique experience. So yeah, that was the very last thing I played, and absolutely one of the best things I played, and absolutely recommend it.
Cool.
Excellent.
We're at number 3 for you, Ian, I think, unless Mad Max and Just Cause 3 are joint 3
They're
or
not.
what, I don't know. Okay, go on then.
My number 3 is Rocket League. We've spoken about that already.
Yeah, we did that.
It's very good. Rob, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is Hearthstone, because I've played the shit out of that, and I bought both expansions over Christmas, so I'm completely now up to date and just playing it to, doing the arena and stuff like most normal Hearthstone players do. And I've just set up my new deck, which is now a legendary spec, but I'm missing 2 legendary cards. Well, the 2 cards that make it legendary. So I'm going to have to grind that. But no, I fucking love that game. I play it while I'm watching substandard TV. I play it on the train. I play it walking along. Literally, there was a point over the Christmas break where it was like what I was doing when I wasn't taking my turn in Hearthstone. That's how much I play it.
My number 2, and I haven't had a chance to finish it, will be Life is Strange.
Cool. Did you get any further than last time?
I haven't. Christmas was planned to be one thing, and other stuff gets in the way. You know how it is.
Oh yeah.
So I haven't finished it. I'm only 2.5 episodes through, but I found it to be extremely original, and with all the sequels and rehashes and all the .survive games that have been out that normally draw my attention, the fact that I was so engrossed by this was to its credit, and I was very impressed. So I'm really hoping that the final half of the game isn't shit, because I had this with Homeland in the TV podcast a couple of years ago, or last year. Oh, Homeland's the best thing ever. And then the last few episodes were shit, and I had to eat my words. But Life is Strange appears to have solid reviews all the way through. It's intriguing. The time travel mechanic is beautifully done. It's not a MacGuffin. It has practical use. And I really like the world. I think, as I've said before, I've not had the opportunity to be a teenage girl at college, and this lets you be a teenage girl at an American college with time travel powers and murder and saving suicidal things, and it's just it's a world that I don't have any access to or involvement with, and it was awesome to be able to get in there and do stuff. Well, that sounds a bit wrong. It was awesome to be part of that with such an engaging story. And if I'm honest, it reminded me of Veronica Mars, which I know a lot of people haven't watched, but Joss Whedon said that was one of the best written shows ever. And it was snappy without being mean girls. It was it's very good. If you're open to unique experiences that aren't your normal kettle of fish, you can pick up the whole series for a tenner for less than that in sales and stuff. It's worth a look. I think it's worth a look.
Yeah, it sold really well as well. It's done about, I can't remember the exact number of units, but I think it was like the 10th highest grossing game on Steam this year. I think it really struck a chord with a lot of people. I thought it was okay. I definitely appreciated it. I've played other games in contemporary settings, though, that I've preferred. And, but yeah, no, it's definitely worthy of mention.
I think the thing, and I may be wrong for this, but it felt original. It didn't feel like one of the Telltale games where they're just taking an IP and rehashing it in their format, which they do well, but that's what they do. It wasn't a sequel, it wasn't a remake or anything else. It felt like a bubble of originality in this sea of shit that we've been not drowning in, but it has been a sea of, it's another Fallout game, another Assassin's Creed. Gosh, I haven't had one of those for 2 weeks. It
definitely stood out. Yeah.
Well done them.
Well done them. Okay,
I absolutely need to play that game.
You do, Pat, you absolutely do.
Because you loved the shit out of it as well, didn't you?
Well, I thought it was good. It's not made my top 5 though.
I think you would appreciate it for the art, Pat, and for how they do the mechanics of stuff. Because it feels like you're in a movie with this art style and these characters and this world. It feels believable. There's invisible walls to stop you moving outside stuff, but you don't really, when you get there, you don't think, I can't walk any further. You just think that's not the right way to go. I need to go over here, which is quite refreshing instead of, that's the invisible wall. I was so focused on the story that I just went, right, that's not the right way. I'll go over here. Maybe there's something over here.
Go on.
I was going to say there's quite a lot of good like reductionist gameplay design going on like this year. Like I'd say Land's End was definitely like really simple and reductionist, but it was kind of very tuned to the very few things that they make you do. Like Ori and the Blind Forest is very reductionist. It was very simple, but it was all about making the few things you could do just feel perfect. And like this sounds like another thing where it's about
I think
okay,
that's
you're not
right.
doing a billion things,
Yeah.
but look how well we're doing.
You
these.
can't bend down and scratch your foot. You can't pick everything up and do stuff
Yeah.
with it. But the stuff that you can, it doesn't feel like, oh, that's there, so I can pick it up. It's you get to somewhere and you go, right, if only I had there's one there. You feel like you're leading the story instead of it being spoon-fed to you.
Yeah, and it's like it's just more like concentrating on like the experience rather than just trying
Yes.
to throw noise at people.
Not the mechanics. There are
just
simple
distraction
mechanics. It's just it felt like if Dragon's Lair had been released today and was not the cartoony cheese fest that it was,
Yeah.
it could be like this. It felt like that perfect of oh wow, I can do this, and it's not QuickTime stuff, all of it, but it was good. I hope the rest of it's good.
I can vouch as someone who has played all of it. It also benefited from coming out episodically, I think, because they learned as the episodes were going on. They kind of learned from each one, and I think it kind of almost became more about the story and like even more streamlined towards the end. So it was quite enjoyable just to sort of lock in there for sort of 2 or 3 hours or however long each one took and just kind of go with it, really.
That's definitely on my wish list now.
Yeah, do it, man, do it.
Do it.
Okay, we're down to our number ones now, and mine is no great surprise. Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt. It was the game I played the most this year. I loved every second of it. I did just about everything I could in it. It was the one open world this year that I didn't want to skip around in, like, and fast travel everywhere, because I was so worried I might miss something, because you could just put the flags everywhere, but I turned them off. I found it distracting. I just wanted to do everything. It was seamless. You could go into interiors, out into towns, to castles and vast wilderness, and not a loading screen in sight. Phenomenal achievement. Some control issues aside, perhaps some inventory issues aside, there were a few little clunky elements that it brought with it, but the overall effect was, put it this way, it was the game I came into 2015 the most excited about, and it absolutely met every single one of my expectations, if not exceeded them. Getting to that second world and then realizing that I had all of that again. I spent over 120 hours in this game, and I haven't gone back to I haven't done the DLC yet. I almost did, because I just wanted to check that it was still as good as it was, but the more I think about it, the more I'm just so enamored with it. Also, the attitude of the devs, CD Projekt Red, providing 16 weeks of DLC or 8 weeks of DLC, free DLC, being so upfront with people, constantly patching the game, it's a game that I feel like is more than deserving of Game of the Year. It's got many Game of the Year awards, but it's certainly mine.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah. Anyone else want to do their number one next? Do you want to do yours, Pat?
Yeah. Mine was Soma.
Oh, cool.
Oh, wow, okay.
By an absolute mile. This game, I think I remember when I told you guys before, like this game felt like I was playing it in VR, even though I wasn't playing it in VR. That's the level of immersion that this game sort of delivered on, and just everything about it I absolutely loved. It was really intelligent, like creative, highbrow sci-fi. The storyline and the twists in it were just better than a lot of things I've seen on TV or in films. I felt completely invested in the character that you're playing. There were. I'm always trying to outguess things like this, and it managed to, keep throwing different things that I think. Oh yeah, I think I've worked it out, and then it tells you 5 minutes later. Yeah, you have worked out, but this is happening, and then Christ, what the fuck? The art was awesome. The overall atmosphere was great. Like bear in mind that I spent nearly probably 6 months of this year, like essentially underwater at the bottom of the sea, building black box. Like,
Oh, yeah.
a lot of my memories of this year are of building environments at the bottom of the ocean from the bottom of the ocean. So like that's a huge reference point for me to have in a game that's about being at the bottom of the ocean. So I spent the whole game just overcome by how amazingly well they've done that one thing that I've been trying to do for half of my year. If that makes sense. So that was a huge thing for me, obviously. That's a huge personal thing for me. But I guess what I mean by that is they have done probably the best job I've seen so far of that environment. The whole thing just absolutely just was perfect for me. I guess I can't think of any parts of the game. Okay, so there was one part of the game where I sort of had to break it to progress. So I found it so psychologically successful in some of the sections where where the enemy is pursuing you that I got too stressed to puzzle solve my way out of a scene.
Oh,
so
that doesn't sound good.
You're given a very short scene where you have to run away from an attacker and navigate to a certain point. I became so stressed by the way that they had presented that scene that I couldn't navigate the environment, and I had to break the game. So what I had to do is confront the thing and run into it a couple of times and get over the fact that it was just a game. And do you know what I mean? I had to physically do something to remind myself it was a game to actually progress in the game. And that's how effective the horror is in this game. And it shouldn't surprise you, because look at the previous.
So it is scary.
Look at the team that made it. It's the very DNA of the game is that they understand human fear and they exploit it. And yeah, it was an absolute. I would describe this game as a masterpiece.
Wow. Okay.
Largely because of the writing, largely because of the believability of the dialogue and the characters, but also of the environment, and also I think in a most overarching way, I just loved how clever the sci-fi of it was. Like how it was something that if I saw it on TV, it would be just as mind-blowing as something like Lost or Star Trek or something like that. It was that level of sci-fi, and yeah, how can I not make that like my favorite game of the year when I've told you that? So yeah,
I desperately want to play it. I was just trying to get to it. It was just a little bit pricey for me still, because I was trying to get through as many as I could. I didn't quite manage to get to it before the end of the Steam sale, but perhaps in the next one.
I'm going to be slightly more honest about why I didn't get to it. I don't want to be scared. So when I've grown some balls, I'll go back and give it a look. But I'm still in that cupboard in Outlast, so it's not looking good.
Oh well. What was your number one then, Ian?
It's going to be GTA 5, I'm afraid. I know it came out the year before, but it came out on the PC this year, so shush.
No, that's fine.
That counts.
And I've probably got 150 hours in GTA Online. I didn't play the single player on the PC version, even though it looked more beautiful. But I can't fault the online stuff. Obviously, when you're playing online, the game experience may change. And during some online experiences, you will play with nothing but hackers and utter cock goblins. However, for most of the time you do not, and it feels like a living, breathing world where there are people you can do stuff with, you can do stuff against, or you can just pull up in the middle of the street and shoot someone and start like a mini war in the middle of downtown or in the middle of the desert, at the airport, all of these places that are part of a living, breathing location. Some of the comedy maps are hilarious. The racing stuff, I'm not, again...
Comedy map?
There are some... You can make custom maps, and some of them are just... Why are there a load of containers going a mile up into the sky that I need to push the pedal bike up and then bunny hop onto the next one and then fall down through a thing and land in the water and get in a boat? What? So there is opportunity for some utter madness there, and there are a gazillion YouTube videos of the weird maps, and they're well worth a look if you're on the fence about Oh, it's just murdering grannies. No, there's no. It's not murdering grannies. Get over yourself. The Daily Mail. It allows for emergent gameplay, and the stuff that randoms just do in the middle of the street. They'll just stop and toss some C4 in your car and then drive off, and then you go, well, hold on, I don't like that, and then you and your mates will go after them, but they've got more mates, and then you've got this gang war going on in the middle of the the highway, and you just respawn it, and it's incredibly addictive to want to kill the fuckers again and again. The missions are excellent. The multiplayer missions are excellent. The races, again, I'm not a racing fan, but I could race in GTA Online for the rest of my life, and it would be enough game for me.
Yeah, well, it's not serious racing, is it? It's
well,
arcadey.
there are certainly
it's
players
fun.
who believe bumping and ramming into you in a GTA game and not what the game is about. But it's not Grand Theft My Little Pony, so if I'm going to smash your car, you should take it like a man and shut up.
Yeah, very much so.
There are non-contact modes, and that's fair enough, but I think Project Cars would do that better for a serious racing game. I've not played it and come away with my mouth aching from laughing. It can be hilarious. Some of the misfortunes, new players doing bad things, experienced players just dropping the controller and the plane ploughing into the ground and stuff. After you've spent 45 minutes on a heist mission, the heists were impeccable. Really quite difficult sometimes, but as a series of missions chained together, I've not really seen anything like that for a while, actually, and they felt like a consistent story. So a part of me hates to be a yay big game, love it, but there was certainly a time when I was playing it where I thought, can gaming actually get any better for me than this? Because this is everything that I want. It's a world where I can just pop in and drive around for a bit. I can do a mission. I can play with friends. I can do stuff with randoms and have a great time. I could find no fault with it, except perhaps the loading times, which can be a bit shitty.
Yeah, well, they're only once though. If
Not
you're,
in online,
once you've,
because
once you're loading between maps.
Once you're in the lobby and stuff, and you have to wait for other players, that can be a bit. Have I crashed? Have I dropped? But once you're in the game, it's Christ.
Yeah, I know what you mean about the whole can it get any better, because I remember it was basically over the summer I was mainlining this and Witcher 3, and it was just like sometimes I just stare at my desktop sometimes going, I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to do because I don't know what to play, because both of them are awesome. And for me, GTA 5, the single player, I'd waited till it come out on PC, so I'd never played it before, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's definitely made my top 10, but I kind of had to rationalise with myself what was new this year and what, I don't know, I just wanted to talk about newer games.
If we were going with the games we played the most hours of, my list would be somewhat different, but it would probably be the same games I played the most hours of last year or the year before as well. Yeah,
well, that's why I didn't want to kind of say how to construct it, but that's kind of how I had to rationalise it in my head, like, because I don't know, I've been toying around with it. I had a version that didn't include Hearthstone. I had GTA 5 in there at one point, and I've just been playing around with it.
I probably played Lunar Flight more than any of those games this year.
Yeah. So if we were going to do the games that we played most of, have you covered those in your top 5, Rob?
Witcher 3's number 1. That's definitely. Although I guess the next one, would maybe be Hearthstone. Hearthstone might even be number 1 actually. Okay. In that case, and then I guess it would be Fallout 4, 3, and then Vermintide, and then Ori. So it would be slightly different order, but I didn't consider that the be all and end all.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I said, I don't really have an order for mine. There's no
but
order.
I tell you what, just looking at all of the games there's very little crossover, which I think is a good thing to say about the year, because there's been so many good games. Yeah. The only bit of crossover there really is Rocket League and Ori. So Yeah, this has been the Not Playing Podcast in partnership with notlistening.co.uk, where you can also hear myself and Ian talk about movies and TV on the Not Watching Podcast, and Adam, Ash and Will talk about all manner of funny things on the Not Listening Podcast. You can email us at notplayingpodcast@gmail.com, or you can tweet at or follow us on Twitter at notplayingpod. You can find the show notes for this show at notlistening.co.uk, and if you're listening to us on iTunes, then please do give us a review. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks for listening. See ya.
With no booty, my friend, I'm inclined to agree, 'cause I suck. I suck